Empire Earnings. Build your financial empire.
When you operate without clear financial objectives, the consequences stack up fast. It becomes dangerously easy to overspend your monthly income, undersave for emergencies, or miss out on long-term wealth-building opportunities entirely. Over the next 6 minutes, we are going to transform that financial anxiety into a tangible, prioritized roadmap. To do this, you need to follow along. Grab a blank piece of paper and a pen, or open up a blank digital spreadsheet right now. Noah Damsky, founder of Marina Wealth Advisors, notes a clear pattern. The earlier you get clear on these priorities, the earlier you can actually start planning for where you want to go, and the more likely it is that you'll succeed. Creating a physical system to house your goals is the dividing line. It takes you from simply hoping for financial stability to actually building it. Step 1 is the brain dump. Write down every financial aspiration you have on your page. Don't worry about the order, and don't worry about how feasible they seem right now. Mix the big, distant milestones, like sending your kids to college, with your immediate daily stressors, like figuring out a monthly budget. Get all of it out of your head. This diagram shows a chaotic, unsorted list of common financial goals. Look at your own list. Find your top 3 absolute priorities and circle them, just as the red marker does here. Capturing every worry on paper clears your mental load. Forcing yourself to isolate just 3 priorities ensures you start executing rather than freezing up. This next diagram outlines our structural framework. We are dividing our timeline into 3 distinct vertical columns: short-term goals taking under 1 year, mid-term taking 1 to 5 years, and long-term extending 5 years or more. Begin sorting your brainstormed list. Move every single item you wrote down into its matching time column on your new table. Your immediate needs, like setting up a budget, land right here in the first column. Your future wealth-building targets, like a college fund, drop into the third column. Resist the urge to cram every goal into the short-term column. If you try to tackle everything in year 1, your list will overflow and you will burn out. Distribute them realistically. Sorting by time horizon shows you exactly what level of commitment is required today. It saves you from the frustration of trying to solve decades of financial planning in a single month. A goal is your final destination. A milestone is the immediate, trackable checkpoint you need to hit right now to get there. Look back at your document. Next to every categorized goal, write down one immediate milestone. Here, we have a zoomed-in look at our long-term column, isolating a massive objective: retire comfortably. To build momentum on that objective, we assigned a highly specific milestone beneath it: open an IRA by Friday. Do a visual check of your own page right now. Confirm that every single goal you wrote down has a specific milestone attached to it. Large objectives like retirement are inherently abstract, which makes them easy to put off. Tying them to specific, date-bound checkpoints creates undeniable forward momentum. Step 3 is operations. You need to look at your current monthly income and explicitly decide how you will fund these new milestones this month. If you try to fund 10 different goals at once, your capital scatters in a dozen shallow directions, achieving nothing. Focus is required. Notice how the green dollar icons in this diagram flow exclusively into our 3 circled high-priority milestones. The rest remain blank. You must direct your available capital strictly toward the top priorities you identified in Step 1. Next to those top 3 tasks, write down the exact dollar amount or the specific block of hours you will commit to them this week. A structural plan without allocated resources is merely a wish list. Attaching actual capital and time is the mechanism that guarantees execution. Take a look at the document you just built. Compare the financial anxiety you felt 6 minutes ago to the clean structure sitting in front of you now. Make this document a permanent fixture. Keep it visible on your fridge, or save it to your desktop for a mandatory monthly review. Your final directive is simple. Pick the very first milestone in your short-term column and complete it today. By planning early and clearly structuring the chaos, you have officially taken control of your long-term financial stability. It is incredibly easy to feel lost when every piece of financial advice you hear points in a completely different direction. You have a fixed amount of surplus cash left over at the end of the month, but it feels like there are a dozen urgent places it needs to go. The natural instinct is to try and tackle everything at once. You pull some cash for debt, stash a little for a house, and throw the rest at retirement. This table illustrates why that fails. If you divide $1,000 equally across debt, housing, and retirement, you spread your capital too thin. You starve the funding for every category, and none reach critical mass. Building a stable financial life requires tackling these targets in a rigid sequence, rather than treating them like a buffet where you sample a little bit of everything. That sequence is built entirely around time horizons. Your financial goals fall into 3 categories: short-term goals under a year, mid-term goals taking 3 to 5 years, and long-term targets pushing past the 5-year mark. Each of these specific windows requires a vastly different amount of cash, and each exposes you to a different type of risk. The core tension is deciding when to keep your money liquid and accessible, and when you can safely lock it away so it can multiply over decades. If you skip straight to the long-term wealth-building phase without a cash foundation, a single unexpected medical bill or car repair forces you to liquidate your investments, often at a severe loss or with heavy tax penalties. Theoretical compound returns evaporate the moment a real-world emergency hits. A short-term financial cushion must be fully funded before the long-term math can actually work. The short-term stage covers anything you need to accomplish within the next 12 months. This phase is entirely focused on establishing your baseline stability. Looking at this decision tree, stage 1 is your foundation. Every spare dollar funnels exclusively into filling an emergency fund and eliminating high-interest credit card debt. You guarantee this consistency by establishing automatic savings contributions. Removing your daily willpower forces the habit to stick. Once these inputs are handled, you have a financial shock absorber. When an unexpected life event occurs, you can solve it with cash instead of swiping a card and digging a deeper hole. Achieving this stability demands strict sacrifice. You have to halt your exciting investments and aggressively cut your discretionary spending until the foundation is set. Because you are keeping this liquid cash in a primary checking account where it is very easy to access, strict adherence to a written monthly budget is the only way to protect it from being accidentally spent. Short-term stability buys you the privilege of chasing longer-term wealth without the constant threat of sudden financial ruin. Once the foundation is secure, you enter the midterm phase. Taking 3 to 5 years, this bridges basic survival and actual wealth creation. Here, you accumulate large cash reserves for specific, heavy milestones, like saving for a home down payment or purchasing a vehicle without needing a bank loan. Alternatively, this capital might be diverted to clear out medium-interest student loans or to invest in higher education to boost your earning power. Getting past these hurdles keeps you out of massive consumer debt and drastically increases your future salary baseline. Keeping tens of thousands safe in a bank account for 5 years means inflation will steadily eat away at its purchasing power. Any dollar assigned to a midterm goal is a dollar you cannot put into the stock market for retirement growth. You willingly pay an opportunity cost to inflation during the midterm squeeze because it guarantees you have the liquidity needed for major life milestones. Past the 5-year mark, you enter the long-term phase. The immediate financial threats are neutralized, and your energy fully shifts towards securing your financial independence. Your primary actions here are early, aggressive allocation into retirement accounts and establishing formal estate plans. This is where time becomes your biggest advantage. By locking investments in early, decades of compounding returns create exponential wealth. You can also direct this financial momentum toward completely paying off a mortgage or building physical assets to pass down to the next generation. To capture this massive growth, you must surrender access to your capital. Funds locked in a 401k or tied up in home equity come with strict withdrawal rules and heavy penalties. If you face an immediate crisis today, long-term capital is practically useless. The immense payoff of long-term compounding is only safe to pursue because you have completely neutralized your immediate vulnerabilities in stages 1 and 2. These timelines only help if you accurately identify your exact starting line. This matrix lays out 3 common baselines: the overwhelmed beginner, the middle earner, and the future optimizer. If you have no savings and carry credit card debt, you are the beginner. Your protocol is rigid. You focus exclusively on the short-term column. An average stock market return of 10% will never mathematically outpace a credit card charging 25% interest. You lose money every single month you attempt to do both. For a beginner, chasing complex investments or generational wealth is a dangerous distraction. You have to secure basic survival and liquidity first. If you have an emergency fund but still face major upcoming expenses, you are the middle earner. Your challenge is balancing capital allocation between the mid and long-term horizons. You must navigate stacking cash for a house while simultaneously pushing money into retirement to preserve your timeline advantage. Hitting those milestones makes you the future optimizer, maximizing efficiency by funneling surplus into long-term market growth and early mortgage payoffs. But the optimizer faces a unique risk. Pushing too much cash into restricted retirement accounts or property equity drains your daily liquidity, leaving you asset-rich but cash-poor. True financial stability is dictated entirely by matching your capital directly to your current timeline reality. We are going to take that vague, looming anxiety you might feel about money and convert it into a prioritized, concrete action plan. Instead of guessing where your money is going or what to do next, we are taking that disorganized information and snapping it all into focus. To do this, you need a few tools: your most recent bank statements, pay stubs, and either a blank digital spreadsheet or a physical notepad. We will work through 3 specific steps. First, we will assess your current baseline. Second, we will draft strict, quantifiable objectives. And third, we will rank those objectives based on their financial impact. By the end of this exercise, you will have a single document that removes daily decision fatigue. You won't have to wonder how to build wealth each month. The document will simply dictate your next step. Step 1 is establishing your financial baseline. We have to know exactly what we are working with today before we decide where to go tomorrow. This diagram shows the 4 basic quadrants we need to fill out: income, expenses, savings, and debt. A lot of people abandon financial planning right here. They get bogged down trying to calculate precise decimal points and track every single transaction down to the penny. Instead of decimals, input broad, rounded monthly averages for each of the 4 categories. We just need a rapid, functional overview of what comes in and what goes out. Seeing the macro-level gap between your income and your expenses provides a reliable reality check. It ensures the targets you set next are actually grounded in your mathematical constraints. With the baseline established, step 2 is drafting your objectives. Left to our own devices, we naturally tend to write down vague wishes instead of actionable targets. This is where the SMART framework comes in. First, your goal must be specific and measurable. You need an exact, quantifiable target. Next, it must be achievable and relevant. The goal has to strictly align with the realities of the baseline we just mapped out. Finally, it must be time-bound. This mandates a strict chronological deadline for the objective. Let's look at this comparison. I want to save more money is an unhelpful wish. A rigorous objective looks like this: I will save $30,000 for a house down payment in 5 years by setting aside $500 per month. If you omit the total dollar amount or the target date, you cannot calculate the monthly requirement. Without those constraints, the plan reduces back to a mere wish. By forcing your goal through this rigid framework, you automatically generate the exact monthly action required. The math bridges the gap between your desire and the execution. Step 3 is taking those newly defined objectives and ranking them based on urgency and long-term defensive impact. It is tempting to skip straight to high-reward actions, like investing in individual stocks, before you've established a secure foundation. An emergency fund must exist before you start investing. If your car breaks down and you have no cash reserves, you will be forced to take on new debt to cover the cost. Similarly, eliminating high-interest credit card debt takes absolute mathematical precedence. The interest you pay on those balances quickly negates the small gains you might make from lower-interest investments. Look at your spreadsheet list and reorder it. Move defensive priorities, like building an emergency fund and paying off high-interest debt, right to the top. This prioritization creates an automated defense mechanism. Securing your base protects your wealth accumulation from short-term financial crises. Take a look at your completed document. You should see your 4-quadrant baseline at the top and your ranked list of SMART goals directly underneath. You have successfully replaced financial ambiguity with a concrete, battle-tested action plan. Your immediate next step is simple.
Select the number 1 ranked item on your sheet and ignore everything else for now. Log into your bank account and establish an automatic monthly transfer to fund that single top priority goal right now. Doing this single action today shifts the burden of execution away from ongoing willpower, turning your financial plan into a structural, unbreakable habit. If you try to build a financial plan by reading standard advice online, you will immediately hit a wall of noise. You have to invest, but you also have to pay off debt. You need a budget, but you also need to build an emergency fund. It is a barrage of conflicting paths. Most people fail at financial planning because they attempt to adopt rigid mathematical frameworks that clash with their psychological reality. Take budgeting. There is a stigma that building a budget requires painstakingly tracking every single penny on a spreadsheet. If you hate spreadsheets, trying to force that habit is a guaranteed path to failure. An effective plan works by adapting to your behavioral tendencies and the stability of your income. Generic plans fracture immediately. A standard W-2 employee needs completely different rules than a freelancer. From there, paths diverge by psychological traits. Are you easily overwhelmed or highly analytical? Does debt stress you out, or is it just numbers? Financial planning succeeds when you match a specific financial mechanism to your exact paycheck and personality. Let's apply this to budgeting. A budget is the foundational pillar of any financial plan, and your primary objective here is to minimize your daily friction. This pie chart breaks down the popular 50-30-20 rule, allocating exactly 50% to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings. But if rent and groceries push past 50%, this rigid framework requires constant granular adjustments. If you struggle with strict percentage tracking, financial advisors often suggest an alternative, the pay-yourself-first strategy. Instead of categorizing every purchase, you automate your plan. Before covering any other expenses, you immediately set aside money for savings and investments. You guarantee that your future security is funded before any lifestyle choices are even an option. The trade-off here is cash flow. It requires upfront discipline to set up the automation, and it strictly limits your daily spending power. You are forced to make severe cuts to your wants without a neat, pre-calculated guideline telling you how much is okay to spend. The tools you choose matter just as much. If you hate spreadsheets, budgeting apps offer spreadsheet-free automation by linking directly to your accounts. If you prefer manual control, a budgeting calculator is your best bet. The best budgeting framework is simply the one with the lowest psychological resistance for you, whether that's strict percentages or pure automation. Once you have a budget, you need an emergency fund. Think of this as a vital shock absorber for life's sudden, highly unpredictable financial impacts. This bar chart represents standard advice. Save 3 to 6 months of living expenses. For a W-2 employee, this provides sufficient security to weather job loss or medical emergencies. But tying up cash means losing out on potential high-yield investment growth. Freelancers and contractors face a different reality, where a 3-month cushion can disappear during a single gap between projects. For irregular earners, the requirement changes completely. You must aim for a 12-month living expense fortress to survive predictable dry spells. This requires sustained savings, significantly delaying your ability to invest or aggressively pay off existing debt. Your income stability strictly dictates your required liquid cash. It decides whether you hold a small safety net and invest the rest, or if you lock your money away in a large fortress. That brings us to debt management, a delicate balance between mathematical efficiency and the limits of your mental endurance. This stacked list of debts illustrates the avalanche method. Prioritize debts with the highest interest rates, paying minimums elsewhere. Mathematically, this minimizes costs. But because high-interest balances are large, you endure months without the dopamine win of closing an account. Contrast this with the snowball method. You attack the smallest balances first, regardless of interest rate. You pay more total interest, but gain rapid psychological momentum. Accounts are wiped out quickly, proving the plan works. Keep in mind, not all debt requires this kind of aggressive elimination. High-interest debt, like credit cards, are toxic liabilities that must be attacked immediately. But a low-interest mortgage behaves differently. Holding on to a cheap mortgage acts as a financial tool because it frees up your monthly capital, allowing you to deploy that cash into smart, high-yield investments. Managing debt requires knowing your limits.
You must choose between enduring the mathematical pain of interest or the psychological pain of slow progress. Generic financial plans fail because they treat everyone the same. They ignore the unique combinations of tactics required for different life situations. This matrix shows 3 distinct paths, mapped to specific viewer profiles. Starting with Profile 1, the overwhelmed beginner. Their ideal stack relies on momentum and low friction. You utilize automated apps, execute Pay Yourself First, and use the snowball method. The grand trade-off for the beginner? You accept slightly higher debt interest costs and rigid daily spending limits in exchange for a frictionless plan you will actually stick to. Next is Profile 2, the freelancer or irregular earner. Their stack is defensive. You ignore the 50-30-20 rule entirely because your income fluctuates, and you make building a 12-month emergency fund your absolute sole priority. The grand trade-off here means significantly delaying your wealth-building investments to ensure you can survive dry spells without acquiring bad debt. Finally, Profile 3, the math optimizer. This stack is built for maximum yield. You use Peston spreadsheet calculators, deploy the avalanche method for bad debt, and intentionally hold on to low-interest mortgages to invest the difference. The optimizer's trade-off requires sacrificing all quick psychological wins and automation ease, trading mental comfort for absolute maximum net worth over time. Ultimately, a functional financial plan reflects your daily reality, requiring you to pick your compromises wisely rather than following a spreadsheet's abstract ideals.
A financial plan on paper is static. It requires your constant attention and a high degree of willpower to execute every month. We are going to convert that dormant plan into a self-sustaining financial loop in exactly 6 minutes. This system relies on 2 pillars: an automatic wealth funding pipeline and a cyclical calendar monitoring system. Prepare your workspace now. Open 2 browser tabs, your primary banking portal and your digital calendar. Setting up this architecture eliminates the friction of daily financial decision-making. You're building a system to replace the need for constant discipline. The first milestone is identifying the exact destination account for your automated wealth transfers. You have 3 primary destination vehicles: a 401k, a Roth IRA, or a high-yield savings account. Funding one of these accounts automatically establishes a habit. This removes the temptation to spend disposable income before you have a chance to save it. Navigate to the Transfer section of your banking portal to initiate the digital automation. Input your predetermined savings amount and select your chosen destination account. Look for the frequency setting. Change from a one-time payment to a recurring monthly schedule. Setting this date arbitrarily creates a risk. If the transfer triggers before your paycheck clears, you could face an account overdraft. Align your recurring transfer date to execute exactly 1 to 2 days after your primary payday to ensure the funds are available. Finalize the transaction and verify that the system confirms your recurring transfer is securely scheduled. Activating this pipeline decouples your wealth building from your daily memory, creating a guaranteed financial safety net in the background. Now, shift to your Calendar tab. A static financial plan can become a liability because life circumstances constantly evolve. Create a new calendar event and title it Annual Financial Plan Review. Use the custom settings to make this event repeat annually on this exact date. A notification a year from now is useless if you don't have a clear set of actions to take when it appears. Financial goals require a structured diagnostic review. They must stay aligned with your current reality. Open the calendar events description box. We will now build your custom life change trigger list. Type the first 2 questions. Did I get married? Did I have children? Add the final 2. Did I switch careers? Do my overall financial priorities need to shift? Save the event and confirm it is locked into your calendar for the following year. This automated diagnostic tool forces you to realign your money with your life as it changes over time. The financial automation and monitoring system is now fully implemented and running in the background. Money is filtering into your savings without manual effort, and a fail-safe review mechanism is waiting for you in the future. Your only remaining task is to log in manually next month to verify the first automated transfer clears without issue. After that initial verification, let the schedule run and resist the urge to micromanage the accounts.
Trusting this beautifully designed automated machine to handle the heavy lifting replaces the need for constant, stressful vigilance. You are now free to focus on living your life.
Even a meticulously designed financial plan can fail early. It often takes only one unexpected expense or a week of lost discipline for the entire system to grind to a halt. To prevent that, we are implementing the Financial Safeguard System. This is a 4-step defensive framework designed to protect your capital from the specific behavioral and strategic errors that typically derail a budget. To begin, you will need 3 tools: a digital calendar, a spreadsheet or budgeting application, and a specific person you trust to act as an accountability partner. Collecting these tools moves your strategy from a conceptual goal to a series of enforced requirements. You are setting the conditions to actively defend your progress. The first major setback is the common tendency to underestimate daily costs. To address this, open your budgeting app or a spreadsheet now. Log every expense from your last 3 days. To avoid initial overwhelm, focus the tracking on just one problem category, like dining out or entertainment. Resist the urge to guess these amounts. Approximating your spending creates mathematical gaps, causing significant financial shortfalls before the month ends. Now, perform a verification step. Ensure the running total of the expenses you just logged perfectly matches the actual balance currently shown in your checking account. Seeing hard, verified transaction numbers replaces the general anxiety of not knowing with a clear understanding of where your money is actually going. Establishing this granular baseline allows you to accurately forecast how much you can realistically contribute toward your long-term goals. Once your expenses are transparent, you can address the behavioral threats of procrastination and emotional spending. Open your digital calendar and create a new event titled Financial Check-In. Set the event recurrence to monthly. Then, add your chosen accountability partner's email address to the guest list. Including a guest transforms a personal reminder into a social commitment. You are no longer just ignoring a notification. You are missing a scheduled appointment with another person. Step 3 creates a buffer against emotional spending. To do this, set up a custom banking alert on your phone or place a physical note in your wallet. Define your 24-hour rule. No impulse purchases over $50 without a full day of reflection. This threshold stops emotional spends without causing notification fatigue. These 2 steps replace unreliable willpower with automated friction. The system now prompts you to stay disciplined rather than relying on you to remember. The final step addresses a technical vulnerability: the long-term impact of tax implications on your savings. This chart illustrates tax-efficient savings, the strategic placement of investments to reduce the growth loss to taxes every year. The widening gap represents wealth you stand to lose over decades if your accounts aren't professionally optimized. To address this, open your email and draft a message to a local CPA or qualified financial advisor. Use this template. I am reviewing my financial goals to ensure my savings and investment choices are tax efficient. Can we schedule a brief consultation? Send the email and confirm it appears in your sent folder. By initiating this professional audit, you are taking the first step toward ensuring your compounding growth isn't being drained by avoidable tax leaks. You now have the initial components of your framework in place: active tracking, automated accountability, spending limits, and professional outreach. While this defense helps secure your money, remember that goal setting is an ongoing process. You will need to remain flexible as your personal situation evolves. Completing these foundational tasks provides the stability required to reach milestones like funding a child's education or securing a retirement that fully supports your lifestyle. As financial expert Julian Damsky notes, the most important step is to start. You can always refine your goals, but having a plan and keeping it in motion is what truly matters. You have established the first layer of your defensive system. Your next task is simply to keep these 4 habits operational until your first scheduled accountability check-in.